Hello. You listen to Third Wave here on CHO 89.1 FM. I am your host, Julie, and this week on the show, we have got a jam-packed hour for you. Super pumped. Going to be talking to three separate people about two really awesome and really important things going on in the world. That was bizarre. I was like, stuff. An hour full of stuff. That's what we're talking about. So first, we're going to be talking about The Real Deal, which is this awesome event coming up soon. And we got two folks in the studio who are going to talk about what the heck that is, why you need to check it out, and what's so darn important about it. And then my good old pal Nellie will be in for the latter half of the show, and she's going to be talking to a woman on the ground in the Ukraine to go just beyond kind of the headlines and the pictures and all the stuff we've seen about what's going on, which is that basically Ukraine is kind of on fire / exploding / all this stuff's going on. But we don't really know what's going on because it's all being filtered through the media. So we're going to go straight to the ground, talk to someone on the ground in the Ukraine about what the heck's going on there and what it's like to be a feminist in the Ukraine right now. So Nellie, as usual, is going to bring that to us because she's so good at finding amazing stories and really going beyond the kind of BuzzFeed small pictures that you get online. And then you're like, what's actually going on? And then you click on and care about Justin Bieber and Rob Ford, and then talk about how you love Woody Allen because I hate you. That's really the moral of my story. So we're going to go beyond all that and talk about that. But first, as I said, we're going to talk about this amazing film event coming up that you're going to want to hear all about. So we're going to do that. And first, we're going to play some music. We're going to play a tune that's kind of summer-like because it's really sunny and borderline mild today. And so I feel like the spring is coming. I don't know if I'm just lying to myself, but I'm running with it. I want you to join me in that. And when we come back, we're going to talk to some amazing folks here on CHO 89.1 FM. Now, I am super pumped because I have two amazing women in the studio with me going to tell you all about this event coming up called The Real Deal. So first we have Emily Ramsey. Hello.
Hi.
How are ya?
I'm okay.
So if you don't know, Emily's an Ottawa independent filmmaker who writes and directs feminist-focused stories, and in particular explores topics on social justice issues with women-centric characters. She's a producer with Say 10 Productions and volunteers with Octiva, the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women, and she is here with us, and we are super pumped, so thank you for being here.
Woohoo.
And we'll also tell you a little bit more about Emily and why she's here, because she may or may not have a film premiering at this event. I'm just saying. We also have Jennifer Mulligan in the studio. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So you are a reformed public servant like myself. You're in recovery. We accept that. We're doing well. But you're also an Ottawa-based screenwriter, right?
That's right.
You're writing scripts here in Ottawa.
That's right.
Fantastic. So both of you are part of a team that's bringing this event called The Real Deal to Ottawa. So what is this?
It's 6 films by women who have short films with a woman's voice, with women's creative lead as the center. And so Jith Paul from Treepot Media had asked me in November to put together a 90-minute screening for his Kickstarter fundraising campaign for his short film called A Clean Slate. And I had just come off of the Ladies Filmmaker Festival in Beverly Hills, the Austin Film Festival, and Treepot hadn't happened yet, but when I heard that Emily had her film in there, I wanted to see it, and I actually missed it. So I saw her film, and then I selected my favorites from those 3 festivals and put them together, and everybody came together really well, and the films are going to be on Saturday night, so I'm really excited.
So it's not just showing really awesome films made by women, it's also benefiting an Ottawa project.
That's right. That's right.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So what's the deets? First of all, if I'm already pumped and excited, where am I going? How am I doing this?
It's the Ottawa U Alumni Theatre. It gets underway at 6 o'clock on Saturday night with The Real Deal screening, films by women. And then at 8 o'clock, it's Treepot 6 Pumped Up Flicks that Jith put together. And I believe the lineup's all male filmmakers. So it's sort of a nice balance between women and men. So it's going to be a good event.
Awesome. And do I just show up, or do I have to buy tickets ahead of time?
You can buy tickets ahead of time on the Kickstarter page as a perk, or you can show up at the door and there's a cash tickets for sale.
Awesome. So Emily, you wrote and directed a film that's going to be shown on Saturday.
Yes, I did.
How awesome is that? And so your film is not a documentary either.
No.
Which I say because oftentimes when we think about having feminist content or we think about having voices about women, we automatically go to it's going to be a documentary, oftentimes about how our lives are sad and tragic. So you wrote and directed this film. How awesome is that? So what's your film about?
My film is about family violence from a young teenager's point of view, what she witnesses every day, and really a climactic event that happens because of that, what she sees. And it's about a young 16-year-old girl who witnesses her parents on a daily basis having an abusive relationship. And basically what happens is she ends up reacting to it after her silence. And it just culminates into a reactionary situation where she has to step up.
And what prompted you to write the script? Like, what is it about this story that you think needs to be heard?
Domestic violence is very common, and a lot of times it's hushed under the rug. And I think that it needs to be spoken about. I don't like hearing about it, and violence in general, it's something I've witnessed and experienced myself. And taking a step further to domestic violence, it scares me to think that it's an everyday occurrence for people out there. And so whenever I wrote this, I really wanted it to be about a young girl, because I think a lot of times young girls have their voices held back, and I also think that oftentimes they don't have outlets to go to. And so I encourage people at the end of the viewing for the Digi60 Film Festival, where I had shown it in December or at the end of November, I had encouraged anyone to reach out to family services out there, especially in the Ottawa area, if they needed it. So I really wanted to make that information available to people, and that's why I wrote it.
That sounds really powerful. And so it's really about that idea of taking this issue that you obviously is very close to your heart, that you do this great work with the Ottawa Coalition on Violence Against Women, but making it fictionalized, sort of like really having another way to sort of get that message across rather than sort of a typical sort of PSA about family violence, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a difficult thing to film as well, because we had to take a step back and see where the limits were between the actors and how far they wanted to go, especially between the two actors, Steve and Christy, who are playing the parents, who are in the abusive situation. And, we just really wanted to make sure that it was as realistic and, more so what people would see they would be thinking that this is something that happens every day, and it's not just don't do it, it's the reality right in front of their faces
and the impacts of that. Mm-hmm. And so Jennifer, when you were going through and choosing the films to show on Saturday, I mean, what kind of criteria were you thinking of? Like, what kind of lens were you looking through when you were choosing these films?
I wanted to find, so there's 4 scripted, which Emily's is included in the scripted, and then 2 docs. And so I wanted to really explore, and it kind of just naturally kind of came about as picking my favorites, every stage of a woman's life. And so there's one about a little girl, one about a teenager, one about a more of a middle-aged woman, and one about a mother. So there's kind of the range, and each of them show this perspective, and some of them are more subtle, and some of them are more visual, and like they each have this really interesting fabric that they all kind of weave together. And then the 2 documentaries are really about how we look at the world in terms of the usefulness of things. And so one of them is about women who work with fabrics and clothing that comes from the North American market, so to speak, travels in boats to India and then gets shredded and turned into other things. And then another one, and then the other one, and that's called Unravel. And the other one is called Past Their Prime, which is about geriatric animals in zoos. So it's like the usefulness of things and the things we see and the things we interact with in the world. So that's sort of, so the phases of a woman's life, and then the usefulness of things in the world from a woman's perspective or from a feminine perspective. So
Wow, that sounds so interesting and different. So it sounds like going there on Saturday, it's like you really are going to see some things like sort of unexpected in terms of different subject matter, different perspectives, and different sort of artistic, I guess, sort of representations, right?
Yeah,
very
sure.
awesome. So for one ticket, you're going all kinds of places, both literally and metaphorically. That sounds awesome. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk a bit about why this kind of event is important. I mean, why is it important that we still look at music made by women, films made by women? Like, why do we still need to push for those spaces? Because I know there are many people who roll their eyes at, even just talking about the show, right? Every single week we only talk about women, we only play music by women, and there's still people who kind of roll their eyes at that and think like, oh, that's cute, but like that's a little old school, right? Like, don't we need to move on? So I think it's really important to sort of talk about why this film is so important, and why Emily's film is so important, and why this event is so important. And of course, we'll make sure to give you all the details on how you can come to this amazing event and check out these fantastic films. So stick around. Lots more to talk about here on C2O 89.1 FM. Hello, you're listening to Third Wave here on C2O 89.1 FM, and you were just listening to The Beach from Karen Ellis, because I am in denial about how we have so much winter left, and it's kind of sunny today, so I'm telling myself it's going to stay this way. And I am joined in studio by two super rad women, Emily Ramsey and Jennifer Mulligan, who are part of an event happening this weekend called The Real Deal, which is what? Remind folks, what's this event happening?
90-minute screening of short films by women, Saturday night.
Awesome. And so what films are going to be shown?
Let me take a look. Pearl Was Here by Kate Marks. These Four Walls by Emily Ramsey. Hotline by Diva Blaisdell Anderson. Unburdened by Tamara Rabel. Unravel by Meghna Gupta. And Past Their Prime by Becca Friedman.
And how many of these films are local? There's some local films.
Just one.
And she may or may not be in studio with us.
That's me. Hey, guys.
So, I mean, we got to talk about what we're dealing with right now, right? So we have, in 2012, women comprised only 18% of all directors, executive producers, writers, cinematographers, and editors working on the top 250 domestic grossing films in the U.S. And sadly, this actually represents an increase of 2% from 2010 and an increase of 1% from 1998. Yikes. Also, women only accounted for 15% of writers, 17% of executive directors, 20% of editors, 4% of cinematographers, and 25% of producers in 2011. Yikes. Not awesome. And in the top 250 films of 2012, it's the same thing. And I don't know, I feel like I watched some really good movies, but where the heck are the folks, right? And only 11% of all clearly identifiable protagonists were female, and 78% were male. So in all aspects of filmmaking, there's a lot of folks who are invisible, who are not being hired to do this work, who are not being looked at, whose films are not being picked up. And Ottawa's considered boring by some folks. I always try to figure out how to frame it. I'm like, nothing really happens here. Apparently, we're not very cultured. There's not a lot of stuff going on. And so here you have a woman who is writing and directing films in the city of Ottawa. Emily Ramsey, do you hate yourself? This is like, what's it like to be you? I mean, it feels like, is it a struggle because there's not a lot, or is it exciting because there's not a lot?
Well, this is something that a couple of us have talked about. There's a couple of people that we hang out with who are women identified and are trying to write and direct and produce some films here. It's a very small amount compared to the other folks that are producing independent films in Ottawa. So it's kind of shocking. It's sad. Mm-hmm. And I know for myself, I love doing it. But the reality is I got into it because of my husband. And I love supporting him, and he's a great filmmaker, and he works on a lot of stuff. For my own stuff, you know, I do acknowledge that it was his encouragement that gave me the bravery to do it. But at the same time, you know, I don't know how many women are getting that kind of encouragement to get their stuff out there.
Well, if you look at last year, So in 2013, across 19 categories, 140 men were nominated for awards versus 35. And there wasn't a single female nominee for directing, cinematography, film editing, writing, or music. And in the Academy Award history, so this year will be the 86th Academy Awards, 4 female filmmakers have been nominated for Best Director, and only one of them won, and as we know, it was Catherine Bigelow. What the heck? So what do you do? I mean, in your case, you had somebody who was pushing you in terms of saying, like, you know, you can do this. But what's your advice, either of you? I mean, if I'm listening to this and this is my jam, like this is what I want to do, I'm so pumped about this kind of work, but I'm feeling pretty isolated because there's not a lot happening in Ottawa. What would you say to those women?
I got involved with people. Like, I got involved with Digi60. I started a screenwriting group because I saw that there wasn't one. I had been involved with something back in 2006, run by a guy. It sort of fell apart at some point. It was really great, but there was nothing cohesive to keep us all together. And I think just working with other women, trying to figure out what those stories are that we want to tell, and, you know, being supported by men rather than, you know, like kind of goes both ways. You know, us supporting them supporting us, and trying to do what we want to do. When I went to the Lady Filmmakers Festival, it was really about men and women working together, women at the forefront as a creative lead, and men being that supportive engine to kind of get the stuff done. And it was really exciting to be in this group of women, all filmmakers, writers, and, you know, seeing the support structure that they all had. And I wanted to emulate that in Ottawa. I wanted to I got the inkling of that for this screening based on that festival that I went to. And for myself, I've always been attracted to those glass ceiling for women kind of occupations, electronics, policing, filmmaking. So to me, it's not, I look at it as a challenge to get in and do stuff from my perspective as a woman. So
it sounds like your advice is really don't view it as a barrier, view it as a challenge, and do it that way. Is that same for you, Emily?
Yeah, I would definitely think that way. Like, I know for me, I write things for myself and for topics that I care about. And I think that a lot of artists need to do that, need to create things for themselves and for a wider audience if they so desire. But for me, I only want to talk about things that I'm really interested in, that I care about, and that I want the world to know about. And that is why I choose the topics that I write about. And I have some great support that help me out, bouncing ideas back and forth, who are both women and men. But I have a strong bunch of friends here in the independent film community, which I think, you know, attracts women too. And we have really great actresses in town who are also broadening their skills into writing and producing films. And I'm hoping that next year we'll see, or in this year even, that we'll see more women producing independent films here in Ottawa.
Because it's interesting how, you know, when you say to folks that there's this glass ceiling in filmmaking, as someone who's not in filmmaking, who's not at that sort of that part of the lens, it's hard, you know, it can be hard to believe, because you're like, well, I see women in films, I see women in plays or what have you, right? But it's who's behind the camera, who's coming up with the script, who's doing the directing. That's where it seems to be still a lot of discrimination, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I'm hopeful that it's going to change. Though if we look at even this year's Oscars, which are in a few weeks, it is not very hopeful. Yeah, but you know, I'm thinking that in the independent circuit, a lot more women are branching out and getting their stuff seen, creating festivals for themselves, creating grants for writing and directing films, you know, creating opportunities for themselves. And I really think that is what we need to do to have ourselves seen on a bigger scale, and to be recognized by the big boys and the major players.
And it also, if you're thinking to yourself, well, that's really great, but I don't have that community, you know, this event on Saturday is a great place to start. Come out and see these films and see folks and meet folks who are interested in this kind of work, right, Jennifer?
Absolutely.
So it's not just, I mean, if you just love watching movies like me, then this is an awesome event too. But if you're looking for that community and you're feeling really isolated, then first of all, Emily will be there and she can tell you all about what it's like to be writing scripts and directing films in Ottawa, because she's going to be there, which is super cool. How weird is it to watch watch your movie, though? Do you find it weird to watch it in public space?
It's tense. I feel awkward, and I'm not sure how people will react and all that kind of stuff, but I enjoy it because I like having the discussion after at the networking events that end up happening, because one thing that Ottawa independent filmmakers are really good at is networking.
That's true.
So,
Hustling.
yeah.
Every day we're hustling in
Yeah.
Ottawa. All right, I'm listening to this and I'm pumped. Jennifer, once again, what are the details? Where am I going? How am I participating in this?
So to get tickets, Kickstarter campaign for A Clean Slate through Treepot Media, courtesy of Jeth Paul, who's the director on that. And so you can get them through the Kickstarter website as a perk. You can also pay cash at the door. Event starts at 6 o'clock sharp. There's an intermission, and then at 8 o'clock. So the real deal starts at 6, and then 8 o'clock it's Treepot 6.
And where am I going?
Ottawa U Alumni Theatre.
Fantastic. So we're going to post the Kickstarter Facebook link on our Facebook page. So if you are our Facebook friend, which if you're not, I am judging you and you should fix that right now. It's The Third Wave on C2O 89.1 FM. Check us out on Facebook. We'll put the link there to the Kickstarter. So if you're interested in helping out with the broader project of funding this awesome independent Ottawa film, do that. Otherwise, come to Alumni Hall.
Yeah, Alumni
Here
Theatre.
at the University of Ottawa, Alumni Theatre. Pay at the door. Come check out this amazing film. And then so it's from 6 to 8, and then afterwards there's more films.
6. So the first event is from 6 till 7:30. There's an intermission till 8 till 9:30, and then I guess there's going to be networking after that somewhere.
You know someone's going to say, let's go somewhere for drinks. This is Ottawa.
Always.
This is how Ottawa rolls. Winter,
Always.
summer, it doesn't even matter. If it's a
Always.
summer, we'll find a patio. If it's a winter, we will find like a hub
shack.
somewhere. We will find
will.
somewhere. We will have some drinks and we will chat. And Emily will be there, which is so cool. So congratulations on your film.
Thank you.
And, you know, as someone for whom, you know, ending violence against women is my passion as well, I think that's very awesome that you decided to do that. So good on you. And Jennifer, congratulations on your amazing work for this event. Hopefully it goes well. And we'll keep you posted. As we said, check out our Facebook page, The Third Wave on C2O 89.1 FM for all the information. Thank you, Emily and Jennifer, for being here.
Thank you.